I'm going to jump onto a subject about annuities today because I get this question all the time about annuities over the phone without looking at what someone's being offered. But annuities aren't all bad. But that's what I hear most of the time when I listen to other podcasts or other talking heads. Now, there's two types of annuities that I definitely want to discern the difference in between, and that is variable annuities and fixed annuities. So if someone's offering you a variable annuity, it's most likely not good for you. It's not going to be advantageous for you to take that on. There are certain individuals, of course, that they have been developed for. And I don't want to go into it too much, but I'll put it this way. If you want to defer a lot of growth without looking at IRAs or things that you don't really qualify for, or you make too much money, you're looking at dropping $1 million into something and you don't want to be taxed on the growth of it, then that's something to look at. But there's so many more options available for other regular everyday investors that have a net worth of $1 million or $2 million. We don't need to be looking at variable annuities. Those are for like the ultra wealthy. But they're marketed to everybody. So avoid variable annuities if you are the regular guy, you're worth, less than $2 million, you shouldn't be looking at variable annuities. Now, when it comes to fixed annuities, though, they're actually great investments, and I own a few myself, and I'm a pretty young guy, so they're not just for older folks either. I own I own three different fixed annuities. They're all fixed indexed annuities. And what I use them for is just where I put my safe money that I don't plan on using. I know they're allocated in US dollars, not a problem, just like most everything else is. But what I like about fixed annuities, number one, is they're safe. Number two, they're liquid. And number three, returns. And in that order. So I got safety first, I have liquidity, and I have returns. And I have lots of other investments. It's a pretty small portion of what I've done, but I've analyzed them and they're pretty decent for what they do. So if you're looking for some alternative to a CD, or if you're looking to get a higher rate on some fixed monies that you don't plan on using for a while, or it's kind of bottom of the bucket money is another term I use, which means you have all this money sitting in a bucket and you wouldn't touch that money at the bottom of the bucket until you made it through those other options if an emergency came up, for example. That's where my funds that I have put into annuities come from. They're in something that I really wouldn't touch them unless it really got to be hard times. So not something I'm going to take that money out and use it tomorrow. So the safety that's provided is by the insurance company, but there's more hype put into these insurance companies' ratings than really needs to be put into the ratings. So the number one advice you're going to hear from a lot of financial professionals is, well, make sure you invest in an A-rated company. Well, I have to tell you, that's a bunch of bull. Really doesn't matter. If I have an A-rated company and I'm only looking at putting maybe 30 or 50,000 into this fixed annuity, and it's paying 3%, and I have another company that's only rated B, but it's paying closer to 4.5% or 5%, I'm going to go with the B-rated company, because although they're not FDIC insured, they are insured at a state level, and most state level insurance protection on all these annuities, they're at different rates at different states, but in general, they're in between 100,000 to about 300,000. So unless you're going to put a whole lot more into this fixed annuity, then you don't really need to worry about it. And that's per contract as well. So it's like even if you wanted to have three separate, you wanted to put in 300,000, you just put it into three different accounts. It's not a big deal. And then you're covered through the insurance, you're covered through the insurance company, and you're getting a higher rate of return. So me personally, I really don't care. I think it's horrible advice to go for the A-rated company every time. I would go for the decent company that's paying the highest rate because you still got that safety and you have safety on top of safety. So rates of return are last on my list with this money. So with the money you're going to put into a fixed annuity, returns are last on the list because I put safety and liquidity first. But obviously, with that being said, there's lots of places to go to get better rates, and that's why I make that point very clear. But what you want to look for with fixed annuities is you want to look for something that has a high rate of return, that you're getting something more than you can find in a CD. And you want to look for a company that's been around a while. You want a little bit of a track record, but not necessarily an A rating. All right, that's what I have to say. That's different than the other professionals out there. If you guys have any questions, let me know, and hit like and subscribe. Thanks.